Hello, Nana Harrison here and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be discussing a very interesting topic, which is business and life principles from the creation story. Yes, creation story, you heard me right. But before we delve into that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already and click the notification bell to receive updates of the new videos that I'll be bringing your way. Now, let's get into this, shall we? The creation story, as we know it, has been a controversial one, especially when you situate it between creation versus evolution, and there's a lot going on with this story. But don't worry, I am not here to add to that controversy. I am here to just discuss the business and life principles that we can learn from this story. So whether you believe in it or not, that is not the key. But the key here is for us to walk away today having learned some keys from this and how we'll be able to apply this story to our businesses and our personal lives. Now, reading this story, we've always read it as a marvelous creation story, yes, which if you're a believer like me, you believe that there is a God who did all these things. But then, aside that, what are the lessons that we can learn from the story itself? Now, to give you a gist of it, the whole story, to me, looks like a typical business startup. Or it can also apply to a career startup if you are not entrepreneurial. But it looks more like that journey from your ideation to scalability. And those are all embedded in the story of creation. So I will not go into the details, read to you word for word, because that would take so much time. And I would entreat you to just get your Bible and then read that story after this discussion, or even whilst I go on this discussion, you can be reading it. If you don't have a physical Bible like I do in my hands, you can have a lot of free versions on the Google Play Store or on the App Store. So you are never limited. Nevertheless, if you still want a copy of the Bible, don't worry, you can just leave me a comment and I'll be willing to send you a free copy of the Bible if you are now getting to know and read the Bible for the first time. I'll be glad to help and give you a copy of the Bible so that you can read it daily and apply that to your life. So now let's go back to the creation story. The very popular and famous creation story, which says that the whole earth and the universe was created by God in 7 days, and he spoke and things happened and all these things came about, which I'll just read the first 2 verses of Genesis 1. It says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. As you go down, you realize that on each day, God did a new thing. On Sundays, he created just the heavens and the earth and created the light to separate the darkness. And from other days, he did the waters, he separated the waters, he caused the plants to grow up, he caused the birds of the air and all those animals, and finally created man, that is you and I, if you are going by the creation story. That's what the creation story tells us. But what are we learning? If even you don't believe in this story, what can you learn from it? And this, let me say this on record. I personally believe in this story, but I'm not saying that you should believe in it also. But let's learn the lessons in this Bible. So, lesson number 1 for me is that for you to be able to do anything, be it a business or even a career, The first stage is to conceive an idea. The very first verse says that in the beginning, God created. There is always a beginning. You always have to start from somewhere. And if you are bringing that to our business and startups, then it is the idea conception. God had the idea to create, and that is what He went ahead to do. And you realize that if you do not have an idea of what you are going to do, then you cannot really design the whole process and how it is going to function. Like, for example, if you were supposed to design a device and you don't have an idea how this device is supposed to function, how would you be able to streamline its processes to meet your expectations? It will be literally impossible. So it all starts from that idea. Now, after having that idea, then you go ahead and create either the product or the service. So the second point right from this is the creation, because God created from the beginning. So He had the idea to do it, and then He created. He went ahead to create the product or the service. So you do not stop at the idea stage, because until you translate that idea, which is intangible, into a product or a service which you can deliver to somebody, you are not giving them any value, and you die with that idea in your head. And I would quote one of the greatest men I have loved of all times, my greatest mentor. Dr. Miles Monroe said that the cemetery is the richest place on this planet, because there are so many ideas that have gone into the grave that never materialized. And so if you conceive that idea and you do not take the step to create either the product or the service, then it only remains an idea and it dies with you. Now, we realize when you read the second verse, it says that the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Now here, it tells you that you will not get it right the very first time that you do it. God Himself created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void. So it is very likely that the very first product or service that you will come up with will not be refined. And so you would need to go back to the drawing board and refine the whole thing to bring order to the process. Because if you do not continue to do that, then you would perish, especially in this fast-paced system or this fast-paced millennium that we are in, where everything is fast. You either innovate or you die. And I would quote the Nokia CEO when Nokia folded up some years back. After they were doing so well, he said, "We're doing everything right. We don't know what happened." Yes, you don't know what happened because you were not refining your processes. You are not refining things. You are not moving with a rhythm. And you either move with a rhythm or you perish. We would not. The world does not wait for you. It does not warm up. It does not hold on until you have been able to perfect yourself. So it is an ongoing process. You create the product or service and you go ahead and refine it by the day. And that is what the creation story is telling us. God created it, but then it was without form and it was void, and there was darkness all over. So you cannot figure it all out. But once you have the idea and you've made something, now you can get the motivation to go ahead and refine that whole thing, to order the whole process and make it that end product or the end goal that you seek. Now, I should also say that this whole refinery process took about 4 days. So the first to the fourth day was about refining, making sure that the waters are separated, making sure the firmament have been made to separate the heavens from the earth. And he had to be diligent to be able to do all these things before now he will bring in life. So before he brought in the animals and we human beings into this earth, he had gone through the refinery process. So before you ship your product, at least you should have made it to the point where somebody can use. And that is the fourth point, that you invite life into your business or your product. That is, you scale when you have gone through the refinery. Now, what do we see? People start off and right from the beginning, they are thinking of going big when the product and service hasn't really been tested. How can we trust you with all this money that you are seeking for if the product or service has not been refined to the point where it can be scaled? So our interest should be in making the thing right, getting it right before we now scale, before we bring life into it. Because if you do not develop the capacity to even meet the kind of demand that you are going to have for your product or service, that alone can crash you. And that is one thing you will learn throughout the refinery process. And you realize that the scalability was just the day 5 and the day 6. That was 2 days. It took 4 days to refine and 2 days to bring in the animals, which tells you that the process of the refinery is very important and key to the whole entrepreneurial journey. If it is also to your career, then developing yourself, your skill set is very, very important before you now think about becoming the CEO and whatever. Because a wise man once said that if you can trouble what is troubling your boss, you get the job. But how can you trouble what is troubling your boss? It means that you would have sharpened your skills to the point where you'll be able to know some things that they cannot perceive. Until you have refined yourself, until you have sharpened your skill set to be able to get to that point. Do not just start from the beginning and expect or anticipate to become the CEO. You need to have gone through the process. And it is either you go through the process or you crash. Because if you do not get the foundation right, then the future it will be in shambles. So we must take time to refine the product or the service. If it is our personal selves, we need to refine ourselves, our skills, our talent, and everything that we are capable of doing. That needs to be sharpened to the cutting edge, and that itself will propel us. It would invite the life itself into the situation. And then God rested. God rested. Now I'll take the rest from 2 different perspectives. One, you see that he did everything before he rested. So those of us who like to eat our chicken before they hatch, that is not feasible. You need to go through the process before rest. Rest does not start before going through the process. You need to do the hard work and then rest. Rest is not the everyday thing, because he worked for 6 days and rested in 1 day, which means that we need to work more and harder than sleeping. Because resting, if you start something, oh, I'm tired, let me just take a break. I'm tired, let me take a nap. I'm tired, let me do this. Then you end up not getting things done. But let's try to see things through to the completion and then take some rest. The other side of this is that there are some of us who are also so much engrossed in what we are doing in the business, so much that we don't even take time to rest. But then if you don't also rest, after some time, you will break down. And mind you, you will succeed with all the refinery and everything, but you may not live long enough to enjoy the fruit of your labor. So rest is very important. When you go through these verses, at every day and every creation day, the Bible would say that God saw that it was good. God saw that it was good. The very first customer for your business, your product or service, is yourself. Now the question is, are you going to buy that product or service that you have developed? If you will not buy it, then there is no need to sell it. If you cannot patronize your own product or service, then it is that bad. So can you say that what you have made is good? Are you enjoying the creation and the process? Can you enjoy what you have made? And can you enjoy the process of making it? Now, if you do not see that what you have made is good, you will give up, because the motivation to keep going on is that you know you are on the right track. And so if you are doing something and you cannot convince yourself that what you are doing is good, then you may need to go back to the drawing board, to the ideation stage again, and then go back through the process and make sure that you can see that it is good, because it is only at that point that you can begin to enjoy the product or service you have made, or the process. If it is work, if you cannot say that, well, this is good, you will not enjoy that job, because trust me, when you get that job, you see that salary that has been assigned to the job and you'll be like, oh, this is great. But the question is, for how long can that sustain you? Because mind you, when you get in there, within a couple of months or years, you'll get tired of it if you don't enjoy what you are doing. And so you make sure that you are enjoying every part of that creation process. If it is a career or it's a business, there needs to be that point where you should be able to see that you are on track. Always go back, look back and see that you are on track. When you find that you are deviating from the course, you must then go back to the drawing board and see the new direction you are taking, whether it is good or not. Because many a time we deviate from what we start. We decide to create a book, and by the time we realize we are making a table. Does that speak to you? We decide, well, I want to be a doctor, along the line, maybe a nurse, and maybe, I don't know. No, that shouldn't be it. When you are always doing a retrospective analysis, just go back and see if what you have done is good, and if this is what you really wanted to do. And when you realize that you are on track, then you continue. Now, the next lesson is God used positive affirmation throughout the process. So he will say, let there be light, and there was. Let there be this, and it was. Let there be that, and it was. Until you are able to affirm to yourself positively. My friend, you may be laughing at the wrong side of your mouth. Why do I say that? You see, motivation is very key to everything that we do. And motivation comes from two sources, whether extrinsically or intrinsically. But the most important is the intrinsic motivation. We should be able to motivate yourself, because that is what really would sustain you. People may not see your vision. People may not know your dream, but you know it. It is you who had your dream. It is you who had that vision. Your friend did not have it. Your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your father, your mother, they did not have that vision. It was you who had that dream. And so it is you. You are the primary person. You are solely responsible for motivating yourself to go through the process. And so using positive words of affirmation is very important. You should be able to say to yourself, it is well. It is well. Oh, this shall be well. Yes, I may be struggling. I may have come to a crossroads, but it is not the end. When you are able to go through this process, when you are able to motivate yourself, then you can soldier on. And until you have been motivated, it is difficult for others to motivate you. People can motivate you when you have motivated yourself. Because if there is that intrinsic motivation is not there, the extrinsic motivation might not really find expression. Because when it's like sowing a seed, if you sow a seed and it falls on a rock, it would not germinate, but it needs to fall on good soil that has some nutrients in there. So there should be that motivation right within you so that the extrinsic can also take effect. Now finally, and most importantly, God says, let us make man. You see, man was the last creation God made. And at that point, he says, let us. Let us means, wow. From the beginning, he says, God did this, God did that, God did that. And at this point, he says, let us. That tells us that no man is an island. At some point in time, you will need help. You will need people to build that business empire you are thinking about. You need people to rise through the ranks in your career. You need people at every point in your life. At least from the beginning, you can decide to go solo. But it gets to a point where you are about to scale that you cannot contain it alone. Therefore, you need to cultivate the habit of partnering with people, standing on the shoulders of giants. You cannot be an island and succeed. This world is all about networks. So you need to identify the kind of people who can help you with what you have to do. Let us make man in our image and likeness. That means that whoever God was talking to, which we Christians believe is because he's a triune God, I will not bore you with all those details, but it means that he had something in common with those that he was talking to or communicating with. And so in your business, in your career, you need to find common ground with other people to be able to succeed. And when you have been able to do all these things, follow through these steps systematically, like I've said, then you can pat yourself on the shoulder and see that, yes, it wasn't easy, but I did it. Well, thank you for watching, and I believe that you have learned a lot, as I have learned a lot myself today. You can still take time and go through the creation story, and you'll be able to learn some other things. If you have any question, don't forget to leave that in the comments below. I will do my best to respond to your comments and your questions. If you have any special thing that you need to talk about, I'll be glad to help you to talk about it and to go on your business or career journey. Now, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so, and also click the notification bell to receive all the new videos that I'll be bringing your way. Thank you for watching.